Hello, you're watching Headlines. I'm Anastasia Lavrina. The inauguration of Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States is expected to take place on January 20. On his first day in office, Donald Trump plans to impose sweeping tariffs that could dramatically reshape global trade. His bold proposal includes a 25% tariff on all goods from Canada and Mexico, leveraging economic pressure to force both countries to address illegal immigration and drug trafficking. But the shockwaves don't stop here. Trump is also targeting China with a 10% tariff. This policy is at the heart of Trump's America First economic vision, which he claims will protect U.S. jobs, boost the economy and reduce foreign dependence. For Trump, these measures are a way to shift the balance of trade in America's favor without raising costs for U.S. consumers. But the questions remain: will these tariffs ignite a full-blown trade war, raise prices and hurt American businesses? Or could this strategy propel the US into a new era of economic dominance? We'll explore the potential consequences of Trump's radical tariff plan and what it means for the future of global commerce. Joining me now is Klaus Jürgens, political analyst, Economy First Limited, London. Dear Klaus, warm welcome to our program.
Hello, Anastasia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good to see you. So, one of Trump's big tariff promises is bigger revenue. On the campaign trail, he told a Georgia crowd that we will take in hundreds of billions of dollars into our treasury and use that money to benefit the American citizens. Can this strategy boost manufacturing, as it will make, let's say, imported goods more expensive, meaning Americans will buy fewer foreign goods?
Well, it is a very interesting question. Now, President-elect, and very soon the new president, he is often in a nice way, critical but still nice, referred to as the tariff man. Now, he put so many pledges into his election campaign. Sometimes I was wondering where is the rest of the economic and fiscal policies. But here, now let me give you one example. During the election campaign, the German side was very worried. Forget about now politics and is it make America, what have you. The German automotive industry started worried because Donald Trump had announced, well, I may increase the tariffs up to a certain unbearable level, but there is one way out. You set up a new plant on American soil, you employ American citizens, and you can sell your cars without any additional tariffs in the United States territory. Now, it sounds absolutely fantastic, but I come back to that point, it is not that easy. Now he has plans for Mexico to do exactly the same, 20, 40, 60%, but in one speech he actually said, why don't we go up to 100% to stop Mexican cars flooding the market in the United States of America? Yes, higher tariffs and more revenue, that is his pledge. Now, what he overlooks discreetly, with all my modesty, higher tariffs on imported manufactured goods. Not talking about services. Let's stick to automotive and others. Higher tariffs mean higher prices. Higher prices mean higher inflation. Eventually, the dollar exchange rate will go up, which means exporting from the USA into the wider world will be much more expensive. Has he considered this? I am not so sure about, but there's lots to talk about indeed, yes. Tariffs going up, is it really the one cure for all? I am not certain.
Klaus, if you remember, in 2018, President Trump imposed tariffs on washing machines, claiming it will benefit American consumers. However, in reality, prices increased and consumers faced difficulties. Later, Donald Trump attributed this outcome to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. What is your opinion on this explanation made by Donald Trump?
Well, I think you overlooked a couple of facts. The washing machine is a very good example, and quite Now, I would basically file it under electioneering. Now, of course, prices go up on a global scale. Of course, supply chains have a dilemma during a pandemic. This is not homemade, this is a global phenomenon. But to blame it all on a pandemic, I think was not the right thing to do. Now, if we look into Europe, we have a very strong white goods market here. Think about the United Kingdom. For example, Turkish white goods are topping the list. I'm not mentioning the companies. Now, export and import makes the world go round. Despite a pandemic, what is important for the consumer is the price. If you, I just studied our interview one more time, the seven most important import-export partners for the United States. And the United States has an export dilemma. Except for the United Kingdom, out of seven in the top seven, United States is importing more than exporting. Hence, there is a huge market, and you have to make sure that the consumer can actually afford. During the election, a number of exit polls were made and polls long before. What are the most pressing items for the average American voter? I commented on that before. Some, of course, mentioned inflation, but it was really not the hottest pick. Some mentioned crime. Again, it was not the hottest pick. What was missing was the purchasing power in the ordinary citizen's pocket. Now, if you want to bring lots of revenues into your country, hundreds of billions, as Donald Trump says, you must make sure that the goods either imported or the goods manufactured on US soil are still affordable. This is completely lacking. I must say, I think it was a bit electioneering. Said this before, running for government is reasonably easy. Getting elected might be easy if you do a lot of promises. From day number one in office, you are faced by reality. You have 100 days, but on day 101, you're elected to see, can I still afford a washing machine? Can I still buy a car? What about mortgage rates? It's too expensive to live in America. So, as I said, we need a little bit of realpolitik, but give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, Canada is prepared to retaliate if President-elect Donald Trump imposes tariffs on the country. Canada's foreign minister already said if Trump does this, then it will lead to the start of a trade war. What will be the impact on consumer prices in both countries if the trade war starts?
Well, trade wars are never beneficial to and for anyone, regardless of Mexico or Canada or the European Union vis-à-vis the United States. I think it is always a short-sighted policy. Now, think about this, MAGA. You want to make America great again. Put yourself into Donald Trump's shoes, if I may say so, with all my modesty. Now, what would you do? What would we do? Yes, make America great again. Okay, you want to build a kind of fortress, an economic fortress to safeguard jobs in the United States of America. Fair enough. But safeguarding jobs doesn't work if the consumer cannot afford to buy those manufactured goods anymore. Increasing tariffs, making foreign goods basically unattainable is the one side of the coin. Producing cheaply on US soil with the same high quality might actually pull the trick, but it is not that easy. Consumers like international brands. Consumers like to buy goods manufactured in Canada. They like to buy cars manufactured in Mexico. They like to buy German-made cars, and then we come back to the washing machine, the white goods, including clothes or what have you, from China to Japan, mentioning semiconductors, IT, from Taiwan to China to Japan and many other countries. If you erect a kind of fortress provision, making sure that we make America great again by basically stopping the flow of cheap imported goods and manufacturing inside our own country so that we don't need them anymore. The Europeans tried. Globalization was basically shelved, and we don't have to cooperate with many other global economies. We want to build a fortress Europe. We want to do everything ourselves. If I still have time, give you one example, penicillin, the drug industry. Now, only recently Brussels said we have to produce more high-quality drugs on our own territory, perhaps even generic, because ultimately it creates jobs. Eventually, it will actually be cheaper, and we don't have to worry about logistics and supply chain and manufacturing in faraway countries. Fair enough, this is a good proposal, but what Donald Trump has in mind, again, with all modesty, to erect the drawbridges and say tariffs here 20, 40, 60, 80%, even to our closest neighbors, Canada and Mexico. I think once he was in office for 100 days, he will realize, if I do this and prices for a number of goods really go up, inflation will go up, and the budget deficit will go up too, then I think his economic team might have thoughts and say, we live in a globalized economy, forget about politics, only think about the economy, and we have to cooperate, we have to buy and sell, we have to manufacture in America, we have to buy from abroad, and we want to sell more American goods abroad, and a trade war is absolutely not the right medicine for this. Coming back to the pharmaceutical.
So, but are there any products that the U.S. heavily depends on importing from China, Canada, or Mexico to the point where domestic consumers cannot easily replace them?
Well, during the election campaign, it was actually said that the manufacturing industry in the United States urgently needs a revamp because the U.S. indeed many other countries heavily dependent on imports, as the figures underline, in the IT sector and in many others. Now, can America not counter this trend? I was recently asked, look, is Silicon Valley not a perfect example of high-tech American, high-quality, even other countries around the world want to photocopy, copy and paste, so to speak? Absolutely. So it can be done. The knowledge is there, everything is there, but the real tricky point is how many of those parts which are actually needed to assemble the end product are made in America by American companies. And here comes the homework for Donald Trump. How can you invest into small and medium-sized enterprises, high top quality prices? Can you only imagine small and medium-sized enterprises who are now faced by a potential trade war and the dollar rate is going up due to high inflation? To where would they export? Basically nowhere, because it is too expensive for consumers outside of the US to buy American products. And I really believe that after some time, Donald Trump's economic team will come to the realization we have to export more with a reasonably okay dollar. It can't become too expensive. And in order to achieve this, we need low inflation, we need low prices and not high prices. And a tariff war is the exact opposite of what would lead to all these scenarios I've just mentioned. But yes, manufacturing, IT, to be already mentioned, and there are many other sectors, and many of them are actually dependent on the small and medium-sized and the family business. Why did Donald Trump win in the SME belt, as I would call it? Because the family business was worried about the previous government, about the economic situation. Even when Washington said all is fine and the budget deficit can be taken care of, if you as a company owner cannot invest anymore, if you can't export anymore, and even if you need to import parts for your end product, which are then too expensive, what do? You vote for an opposition candidate. And Donald Trump very, very much relied on the heartland. I only mentioned Georgia. I mentioned places in the US with agriculture, with farming, back again to the family business. They were left out of these so-called economic miracle, which can be very, very short-lived unless Donald Trump gets it under control very quickly.
Right, so there is a real possibility that President-elect Donald Trump may decide to change his tariff policy after some time when he realizes, and his economists will also tell him that that's not the right path the U.S. should follow. But we shouldn't forget about the political implications of this policy may bring to the United States.
Yes, of course. We only spoke about the economy. Now, America, and coming back to the election campaign, if I'm not mistaken, beside your own purchasing power and what is in your wallet or purse. Some in the electorate felt very unhappy about what is the purpose of America. Where are we going? What about national identity? Now Donald Trump very, very cleverly stepped into that void by saying, we will make America great again. It is a wonderful slogan. The Swedes tried the same, Sweden first. You can say other countries say the same, ABC first. But once the election is over, how do you actually manage to achieve this? And this brings us to the political debate, if I may. Now, what kind of nation state do you want to create? Do you want to shield yourself away from any potential global impact? Basically impossible, both in the economic and political domain. Or do you want to become a fair partner for the entire world and making sure that doing business with America is the right thing? Now, this is a somewhat watered down approach of make America great again. Look what could happen to Sweden. Lovely country, same like America. Now, Sweden first. Yes, of course, you win one election. But then ultimately you realize, for example, about construction industry, passive, sustainable needs. If you can no longer import what you need or export what you have, you're in the process of make Sweden or any other country great again is flawed. And Donald Trump will come to this realization. You mentioned so nicely that once he is in office, perhaps he will have second guesses, second thoughts. I would say as well, and let us not forget, there is the internal crisis dimension. And Donald Trump simply came away from the situation in Ukraine, Palestine, Israel, what have you, other places around the world. You need to portray America as a peacemaker and not as a troublemaker. And this would probably be Donald Trump's lasting legacy. Let's assume the economy goes up and down, but it will somehow stabilize. He still has to make sure that Washington's global reputation will stabilize as well, and not only at home, abroad as well. So, as I've said, I wish him luck with 100 days at home and abroad, but I hope his team is up for it to see economic, political, global dimensions.
Well, Klaus, thank you. Thank you so much for joining our program today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So today with us was Klaus Jürgens, political analyst, Economy First Limited, London. Dear viewers, thank you for joining Headlines. Do stay with us and see you in the next edition.